We've discussed the priorities in children's ministry. Pray, pray, pray. Raise the value of children's ministry. Cast a clear vision for children's ministry. So how is it that you go about identifying and enlisting leaders around you, developing teams of people? What's your tricks to the trade on that one?
You know, there's a very interesting thing that's happening in volunteerism around the country even right now. In just a few years, they're estimating that 120 million people in the United States will be in some sort of volunteer service. And
can you invite them to my church?
Yeah, we all need them, don't we? One of the things that's really interesting about that is it's not necessarily because there's an increased need, but one of the things that's happening is people volunteer out of a sense of wanting to be part of a community and wanting to have to make some sort of contribution. And so one of the tricks of the trade for me is to try to figure out, to go after people and say to them, hey, would you like to belong to something? Would you like to contribute to something? And sort of stay away from the issues of you have to serve because we need you.
Yes.
Sort of invite people to a partnership of excitement and enthusiasm versus inviting them to a need zone, a war zone, where they're going to get beat up if they show up, that kind of thing. But you know, just to try to create this excitement around the idea of owning that ministry. Yep.
That's one of the reasons perhaps in our church we have moved away from using the word volunteer. We call them ministry partners. They're much more than volunteers. They're partners in ministry, and they don't get paid. I do. How about that? And a critical thing for us is developing those relationships so that they're not treated just like a task themselves, and their ministry is not just a task to kids. In the proportion that we care for them, I think they're better equipped to care for the kids around them. We have a coaching system, and we try to be pretty intentional about a ratio. Every 5 shepherds, we want to coach. Helps deal with any kind of support items, but personal items. And a ministry really starts working well when you have meetings like the coach inviting the shepherds to their home for dinner or something like that, or at least even meeting before or after the class to say, well, how did it go? Talk to me about how you develop systems of support in your church.
You know, that is a really great idea, because I think that one of the problems that we've had over the years is we've tied a partnership to the actual task of ministry. We've not taken the time to get to know the person. So I appreciate what you're saying there, because if we can have opportunities, like I know I've had people in my home where I find out after just a conversation in my living room that they're actually quite gifted to do something else than what I have them doing, then I can make that switch and probably have that ministry partner for the long term. So any kind of personal relationship building, I love the coaching idea to assess needs with our teams, because if all we're talking about is ministry task, it is possible that a ministry partner can feel as though they're just being used or they're just part of a team. But when we begin to appreciate them and we begin to get into their lives a little bit, it certainly develops the kind of camaraderie and collaborative relationship that makes all of our ministries better.
You've described, Jay, what you want to have happen with a ministry partner once they're connected to your ministry and to the people there. But how do you get them there?
You know, I learned a long time ago that if we talk as leaders about the excitement of ministry, people will gather and they will come to us. This year is the first year at my church, since I've been there, at least in the last several years, that we chose to use no public announcements for help. I challenged my team to do everything sort of underground, talk to people, build relationships, no public announcements for help. And we were successful in finding all of our team members for this season of ministry. But I believe that a lot of it is the positive nature of the way that we present ministry. If we do present it as a obligation, a duty, we run the risk of getting people to serve for a short time. But the long-term buy-in is as we connect with people in a positive way.
Yes, and they tell their friends.
Sure.
And And we tried that too. But finally we had to go back to
Okay.
to an announcement, just to help give a little bit of visibility to
Sure.
it. But when I'm what we call in the big house, and if I'm making a personal announcement about children's ministry, sometimes I'll say it like this. Folks, if you like kids and you'd be willing to kind of watch them and make sure no one gets hurt and stuff like that while their parents are doing some important Bible classes and some worship and just kind of keep them maintained, then we definitely don't want you anywhere near our children's ministry. That's not what we're about. However, if you like kids and you would like to connect in a significant way with a small group of kids and give to them something that the Lord has given you, a relationship with Jesus Christ, in such a way that it's going to reshape their life and change the course of their eternity and reshape this world, well, I got a place where you can do that. So it gets to be more of a privilege and a high challenge rather than come and, hey, fill a spot. Even though sometimes I say, oh, gosh, you're just the one. We really need to fill this spot.
If you have a pulse, we'll take you.
One last thought on putting people in ministry. Sometimes people feel intimidated with children's ministry, and oftentimes you'll hear people say, well, I can't, I'm not a teacher.
Right.
Well, how do you get around that objection?
We try to create a multifaceted opportunity list,
Okay.
For lack of a better way of saying it. There's certainly people that do fall into teacher profiles, but there's great people that fall into more relational profiles or whatever like that. So we try to create a lot of different opportunities. And the other thing I think that's really important there, Roger, is what I would call ease of participation. In other words, we certainly want to screen our people and make sure that we have the right people in rooms. But there is something about how easy is it to get from I want to serve to being in the classroom. And so sometimes we need to examine our approach of once we have partnered with someone, how do we actually get them placed and what are the steps that they have to take to get there?
We go through different seasons in the course of a year. We go through that enlistment season, kind of that training season. We come around to that celebration season, and we want to say thank you. And we want to say, wow, look what God did. How do you do that?
We have actually had appreciation big events, which of course a lot of people have those, but I have found
For example?
Well, like if we brought all of our Sunday morning people together who serve in just early childhood, or all of our Sunday morning people who serve second hour in elementary or something like that. And those events are all good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I've actually chosen to take a little bit more of a segmented approach, try to take teams that are smaller, 8 to 10 people, and do something with them. Take them to lunch, take them out to a ball game or something, and just love on them and nurture on them. One of the things that I don't
Wait a minute, you said ball game, you said lunch. I'm ready. I'm ready. Sign me up.
One of the things I don't like about the timing of what you're talking about is it's often kind of confusing to a ministry leader. How do you tell someone thank you and then a week later you're asking them if they'll serve again in the fall? Yeah. So that's why the smaller context for me is a little more tenable. You can show appreciation.
And more continual throughout the year.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Jay. Talk about it in your group. How is it that you identify and enlist leaders? And out of this conversation, what one or two things especially resonates with you?